would like to ask something that usually doesn't come up, although actually, and this isn't what prompted my question, but the question of governance of not-for-profits has been on TV a lot in the last 2 days, as everyone talks about Penn State, and the governance obligations of university trustees who are charged with the governance responsibility for the large university, but not-for-profits all have, and I sit on the board of half a dozen not-for-profit organizations of various kinds. And the governance challenges that not-for-profit space is an interesting area that most people don't talk about or think about. I just wanted to ask each of you if, do you have a board? Who do you feel that you are responsible as fiduciaries to, and what your governance structure looks like? Who would like to say?
We have a board. In terms of our fiduciary responsibilities, and obviously as board members, we are bound not only to the charter but by the laws, because we're a fully accredited 501c3. So we have certain things that just have to be followed. We've also got some very good pro bono legal advice in terms of how to set everything up, and how to make sure that we are always staying in compliance. So to a certain extent, I guess it's just finding a way to work within the rules that are put in front of us, to kind of color within the lines, so to speak.
Okay. Do you find the regulations around being 501c3 difficult to deal with, onerous, easy?
Well, because we're so young, we haven't grown. It's not like we're the Red Cross or the Komen Foundation, where we have billions that we're trying to deal with, etc. So I would say so far it's been relatively black and white, cut and dried for us. There are some things that I think, for lack of a term, are just silly. But I understand that there's probably been some things in the past that have made those regulations and those things come up. But I'd say so far that's been pretty much the least of our worries.
Okay. Chris, how about you?
Well, I think having a good board, and I've been listening to Janet as far as I think boards change over, and that's actually a best practice, is to have the term limits and to have the board rotate and get new ideas and actually new leadership over time. But we have a wonderful board that's very active. Even though we're an older organization, we started in 1969, we've gone through so many different transition steps. And most recently, what we've been focusing on, too, is looking at more networking and really developing relationships. And the governance area has been driven really by funding, because we do receive federal funds, we receive state funds, and then most of the grants these days, at least the ones that we have access to, have some sort of a program entity with it, where in order to receive the funds, you have a deliverable. And you need to execute a program, and you have to show that you are actually delivering the services, that you say you're going to deliver. So what that means is you've got to have the technology and the systems in place in order to monitor that, or it's a nightmare. And so as we speak, we're developing a new program-based system where we can track each fund separately, do the reports with the press of a button, things like that, because a lot of our behind-the-scenes things have been manual through QuickBooks and through other accepted systems, but we've grown so much that it's no longer effective for us, and we're having to do so many things in order to get the reports and the metrics the way that the funders want them. So it's taking our staff extra time when the system could be doing it. So what we're doing is investing in a system that will help us track the money, do that better. Our board, just to show their their focus. Meets monthly, and we actually have something that's called a sales funnel, which everyone thought that I was overly optimistic on my projections. As far as
you're a glass half full
I
person.
am very optimistic as far as with what's going to happen, as far as with the things that we do, and so what we've done is actually set up a projection-based funnel where we show exactly who we're contacting, what stage of the process that's in. If we contact someone, it's only worth 5% of the money. If it's an idea, it's not worth anything. We have to actually execute in order to actually do the projection. And that's been really the hardest part is, as you're going for funds, they want you to predict your next year's budget. In the nonprofit world, that's very, very difficult to do these days. So we've gotten much better at that over time. But again, that's been through business folks helping us do the same things that they've done in the corporate sector.
Do you find conflict, since you get funding from various government entities, do you find you have conflicting fiduciary responsibilities, or is that not much of an issue?
We basically review things before we take them on.
Okay.
And anything where we couldn't accomplish both, we really can't do. So if we've only got so much money coming in and we're saying it's going to one area, we really can't.
Okay.
We have to turn things away if it doesn't fit.
Okay. All right. How about you?
We do have a board, and we meet in person probably 4 times a year, typically. We also do a lot of things online. Don't have a lot of governance issues since the executive director is like a staff of one, and so
Your board gives you a hard time.
yes, of course. But I have certain things that I can do, and certain things I have to go back to the board on.
Okay.
And so it's pretty cut and dry. We don't have any grants. We don't take any outside money. We don't solicit for funds. The only money that we intake is from people who come to our meetings or join as a member. We've a couple of changes we've made more recently. We've downsized the board because it became size is a challenge. I think when you have nonprofit boards, it's easy to get it big.
Yes.
And so we've cut it down. We've tried to also get the board more active in kind of project-based things, where they're not just coming there and reacting to reports by me or issues that come up. One of our big initiatives right now is as an organization that's serving people who are unemployed. As the economy gets better, our membership goes down, and we're actually an organization. If we do really well, we don't have any members. So we actually have a separate big initiative called Networking for Life, where we are trying to create a separate organization of people who are working, because what we find is that once one of our members gets a job, they typically, they don't want anything to do with the unemployed anymore. And so we, in spite of lots of things that we try to do to get some commingling. So I would say that's the big initiative right now is to define a project, get the board engaged in it.
How big is your board now?
We have 8 now. We did have, I think, 11. So, I would love a board of, 1. But
are you a member of the board?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. I am a member of the board, and we're almost a virtual organization.
Right.
So we don't have much in the way of assets except money, and it's really about how we spend the money, how we invest the money, and then how we really run the organization.
You are a 501c3, is it?
We are a 501c7, whatever that is.
Okay.
It's in the same.
I know what a 6 and a 3 are. So.
I don't know. Maybe it's a 6 or 3. It doesn't really
Probably
matter.
a 6. That's
but
it,
it's
but
but it's
lobbyist.
no. I think it's a 7, and I have no idea why we're a 7. But we really don't have much in the way of reporting. We do have to file an annual tax return, and that's about the only thing I think we have to do.
Yeah, we're a 501(c), so yeah, we have a board, and we have a governance committee who actually has really grown their responsibilities. And fortunately, our past board president loved bylaws.
Yeah.
She loved them, so she really helped us kind of redo our bylaws.
Wasn't that you?
It was not me.
Okay.
And I, I am on the board. Our board is about, we were 17, we're about 14 now. We have like Chris was saying, we're trying to go. We're still meeting 10 times a year, but we're trying to go to more of a consent agenda and make the board meetings more meaningful and not meet when we don't have to. But we are implementing a strategic plan right now, so that's why we've been meeting a little more. But the goal is to get down to like six meetings. But we do get funding, and so we do have some other and fundraisers. So how else will we get them to come? But so we we are trying. That is our goal: is to cut down the number of meetings, and make them more effective.
Do you one thing with boards, particularly like university boards of trustees, is that there's some implied obligation to provide financial support for the organization.
Yeah. We have a give and get. It's relatively low, so we'll probably look at that, but we do have we instituted a give and get. Yeah.
As well.
We have, we don't put any number on it, but the board members agree that they all will give something.
Okay.
Yeah, and having said that,
which I think, by the way, is, in my experience, that's the best way to do it.
And our board members are very generous. They're usually our bigger sponsors. They bring people to events.
Sure.
And so, I mean, even though the number is relatively low, they're usually way over and above that number.
When there's board turnover, does the board take the responsibility for recruiting additional members, or do you take that, or is it shared? Or?
I'd say it's for our organization, we have a nominating committee, but we do rely on the board for them, and it is a shared responsibility. They also rely, because I'm in the community, member of the chamber, member of Rotary, so and I'm on all 6 other committees, so they rely on me to help bring people along. So I think it's a shared responsibility.
In our case, it's typically my recommendation because our board is half people who were former members who are in the working world, and half who are still in transition.
Okay.
Because it's important to continually be in touch with what people in transition need. So, and we don't. Nobody makes financial contributions on our board at all,
Which makes sense. Well, we said we would, at this point, look for questions from our audience, either physically present audience or our virtual audience.
Actually, I think we do have a caller. Caller, go ahead. You had a question?
Hi. I was wondering how you are using, social media to get your message out, how you've changed from maybe more traditional approaches.
If you don't mind, I'll address that, because
Sure.
being that we're so new, a lot of the advisors that we brought in were much more schooled, so to speak, in social media. I personally am kind of like that in-between generation where I'm not my parents who don't even know what a computer is or what it does, and I'm certainly not my kids who can whip out a 140 character text message in like 2 seconds. One of the things that I've found is that when going out and trying to find sponsors, is that the way that the sponsors are valuing their sponsorship dollars is completely different. That traditional marketing that most companies or most of us are familiar with is really dead. The first thing they're asking us is, how can we integrate our social media together? How many people are following you on Twitter? What's your Facebook? How many people like you on Facebook? What can we do with this? If we give you a QR code that you put on this, all those different types of things. So what we've done is, because I aim for kids as opposed to everybody else who's up on the panel tonight, it's a little bit different, because I guess you could say we're more product based, because we deliver a product to the schools, not a service or not dollars. And we have ways that we can actually give that deliverable back. Really what it almost comes down to for us is it becomes a good ad buy for that company to sponsor us to go out and do our mission. So, did that answer your question?
It does. Well, it wasn't my question.
Well,
But in any case, but I'll ask a follow-on question, and then you guys can get the answer as well. Since you deal with kids, do you use social media in your programs with kids?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, basically what we wanted to do is when we were designing the program was we wanted to be able to communicate with the kids and their parents in the methods that they're familiar with doing. Okay, so after they go through what we'll call the knowledge transfer part of it, the part that's done in school, it's actually really designed to become a lifelong relationship with the kids and their parents and their teachers. Where we use text messaging, we use email, etc., to challenge them every day to live up to the identity they created for themselves, but also let the parents and teachers know what the kids are doing with their eye for kids' projects, etc. And then obviously there's sponsorable moments that are in there that we can have them to send out. For example, beginning of the school year, the code that will go out to somebody's smartphone that says, hey, if you want an extra 10% off of back to school supplies, you can go to, you just show the barcode when you're checking out.
Okay, that's great.
We're learning. we're really trying to embrace the social media and use it more to tell our story. And we basically have had a lot of people help us along the way. And we're bringing in more folks that know how to do that. Our staff is being trained, and so we're gradually getting up to speed, but we're behind where I think we probably should be, and we're trying to do much better with that. In a year, we'll be in a different place.
Well, social media changes so fast that everyone's behind, so don't feel...
Okay. But we really view it as probably the best way that we can tell our story and be able to connect with folks with a broad base in order to help more people. So I think the things that are happening will resonate with folks. So as soon as we get better at that and connecting, the network will grow larger. So.
Do you see your client organizations adopting social media as well?
We're actually helping them through our tech. We're helping them, and we go to our own classes. Yes.
Okay.
We're bringing in the experts to help us, and also our agencies along the way.
Oh, that's great.
We use social media a lot more than we ever did before. Our primary vehicle now is LinkedIn. We have our own LinkedIn, ENG LinkedIn group, which has, believe it or not, it was originally for members, but we keep having other people that want to get in, and we now have over 2,000 people in that, and it becomes a melting pot for blogs, posting jobs, questions, and so on. We also use Constant Contact to send out our announcements for the workshops and meetings and whatnot, and it really kind of is an upgrade over the normal emails, and you get pictures and nice things, and it looks a little bit like a mini newspaper. We have a Twitter account. Don't use it a lot. We have as I said before, most of our members are 50-somethings, and they are social media averse by nature, but so we try to stick to the ones that they're most comfortable with.
Okay. And for your kind of work, LinkedIn would be perfect.
Yeah, it is. It really works well.
Yeah, I mean, we use social media. I mean, I think to Chris's point, and both Chris's point, I think you always feel you're behind, but we, our marketing director is part of a group that meets once a month, and everyone, big agencies, small agencies, they all feel they're behind, and I think because it does change so dramatically. We also have to be careful from a donor perspective. Many of our donors are older, so they, you can't forget how to communicate with them too. So you could get a little obsessive, I was just going to do social media. Well, you also have to do some old-fashioned, a newsletter and things like that, because some of your donors are not on Twitter. So fortunately, we have so we do have a marketing person that actually is working and investing and looking at all of them and what makes the Pinterest and Facebook and LinkedIn. We're not ready. How do we use that more effectively? So, but we're trying to do it in YouTube, and we got as a nonprofit on YouTube, so now we can have a donate button. So, there's different things that we can do, but, it takes some time and effort to, get it done, but do it right.
It does. We're in the process on the water of raising money to build a new building on campus. It's a field house, and it's part of the athletic complex. It's a Division III school, though, so it's harder for us. And we've actually started using LinkedIn to try to deal with the committee, but they tend to be at least in their 60s, most, not all of them, but many of them. And so it's a challenge getting them to, we're getting there.